I want to go through the 8 steps that will guarantee that you have a good client call. Now let me kind of summarize, because there's so much here. We've just discussed the loophole formula. That's all I just talked about the formula so that you could understand what it is. And you can use those ideas in contracts and conversations and emails and actually to perform your duties. But before any of that makes sense, you have to be able to get a client on the phone call and talk to them. So first I'm going to talk about the 8 steps to guarantee that you have a good client call, and then we're going to actually do a client call. Okay, first of all, don't make sales calls. This is absolutely not a sales call that you're making. Remind yourself what you're doing. You are not making a sales call. Get that out of your head. What you're doing is you're screening for a product or partner opportunity. You're screening. This is a screening call. Or you might say it's an educational call. You're talking to somebody to kind of educate them about the services that you offer, or to educate them about how they could make more money on Amazon. And if they're so impressed with how your program works and what your process is, they may decide, whoa, why don't you just do this for me? So think of it as anything but a sales call. A sales call is when you've got a product that you want to sell and you call them up and the person probably wasn't all that interested, but you're using sales tactics to convince them to get it, and then they order something from you. That's not what this is. So you're going to be setting up product opportunity calls, period. Target carefully. Okay, now regarding the product, before you attempt to schedule a call or a meeting, make sure that the product that you're going to be discussing is the product that meets your criteria for ranking and selling well in Amazon. If this is not a product that you would have taken your own money and purchased inventory and run it up the ranks as a solo flyer, then don't try to do it for somebody else. So in other words, you think this product has running shoes. It's just that the seller's got those shoes on backwards right now, and you need to turn them around. And you're going to turn them around, and then if you can do that, the product will sell. So you need to feel that about the product already. Now regarding the person, before you attempt to schedule a call or a meeting, be specific about with whom you want to talk. In general, it's got to be the owner, the CEO, or whoever it is at the company that's in charge of that specific product, a decision maker. And if it's anybody else, don't waste your time on the call. You may have to go through some gatekeepers and what have you, sometimes to get to the right person, but don't give your presentation and your pitch to somebody that can't say yes at the end. If the best they can say at the end is, wow, sounds good, I'll have to tell Bill about it, then you were talking to the wrong person. If the person that you ultimately speak to is the decision maker, or if they have significant influence, then you've got a chance of getting the deal. If they're not the right profile, it doesn't matter what your skills are. You're not going to get a new client. Okay, so you need to research your prospect before you talk to them. And I know that sounds like a lot, but all you're doing is you're going over to their website and you're reading their bio. That's it. Or you're looking them up on LinkedIn or Wikipedia or something. That's it. A little bit of knowledge is a good thing, and a big bit of knowledge is powerful. So take the time before you actually get on the phone and kind of read up about them. I'll tell you what I look for. I kind of generally want to know who they are and all that, but I'm looking for points that I can connect through. Are they a pet owner? Do they live in a certain area where I've been before? Do they like some of the same things I like? I'm trying to find something where I can connect, because usually in the first few minutes of a phone call, you can almost tell two things: whether you want to get the deal and also whether you're going to get the deal. And I've been on phone calls, and sometimes the person is just kind of cranky, and I just tell I'm pulling teeth, and it's like I know within just a few minutes. I say, oh gosh, I see you live down south. I was born and raised there. Where'd you go to school? Listen here, I haven't got much time, and I hear you're good at this Amazon stuff. Why don't we just get to it? It's like, hey, listen, sir, you know what? I will just gracefully bow out of that kind of a thing pretty darn quick, because it isn't going anywhere. And even if he said yes, I don't want to deal with the guy. So try to learn a little bit about the industry, the company, his needs, his focus. Everyone wants to know that you've taken the time to learn what's going on in their world. And that includes knowing what's going on with their product competition on Amazon. Don't get on the call and not know who their competitor is. Okay? You don't have to know any great depth about it, but you just need to be able to throw out some other names. That's it. Also, there are plenty of sites and tools to do this. Make sure you check Amazon, look for the competitors, go to LinkedIn and read about the company or the person. Facebook, definitely go to the company's website or the blog. Read about that, read about the bio. Have all of that in your head before you do the call. It sounds like a lot, but I do this like in usually about 15 minutes. Sometimes if I'm really interested in the person, I'll spend a lot more time. Okay, you do this before you take your product opportunity call. There's no excuse not to be knowledgeable about the people on the other side of the table. Adjust your expectations. All too often, you as a consultant, you will think that the goal of your first meeting is to close the deal, and it's really not. The goal of the first meeting is just to lay out what your process is. You want them to leave that call definitely having heard you say product, people, process, and profit at least 3 or 4 times. Just say it. It's like magic pixie dust. For some reason, when people hear you talking away where you've got your act together by just saying like a little phrase like that, it's like they go, holy shit, this guy knows his stuff. I mean, you just kept talking about product, people, process, and profit, and they're interested in all of that, and you're going to explain to them how all of that works. If you do not get a deal on the first meeting, don't think it's a waste of time. In the long haul, if you want this client, there's a good chance that you will still be able to get them. Know that before you pick up the phone so that you don't feel any pressure in trying to get a yes. Your objective is to start the process of building trust and confidence. That's all you're after doing. So take a deep breath. You're going to get on with this client, and you're going to yap about the product, the people, the process, and the profit over and over and over again. And then you're just going to kind of kick back a little bit. You're not really going to necessarily try to close it. I found most of the clients just end up saying, hey, let's do it. And it's like, okay, well, let's do it. But if some of them have to think about it a little bit more, you don't worry about trying to close them. If you do well, eventually the prospect will feel comfortable, and they will trust you as an advisor. And if this happens in the first meeting, great, but more likely, the outcome of the first meeting will be an initial connection, basically just to schedule another conversation. That's it. So the goal of your first meeting is to educate them about who you are, connect with them, and to schedule another conversation. So you're going to articulate your value. Part 1. What value can you offer to the prospect? Not just once you start working with them, but right there in the meeting. Okay, now here's what I mean. You're going to offer value during what I call the product opportunity call. And the way you're going to do this is by not keeping secrets. There's nothing you're doing in Amazon that's like a secret that's so big that you can't tell this client. Because number one, they wouldn't be able to put it all together. They're not going to be going through this course. They're not going to have the connections and the knowledge that you have. And even if you explain the whole thing to them, it's like, think about it. there's many of you that have gone through a large part of the course and you're still trying to figure out parts of it. This isn't something where you just, somebody explains it to you once and you can go out and do it yourself. So don't worry that the client's going to just all of a sudden say, well, hell, you know, you just explained the whole thing to me. What do I need you for? I'm just going to go do it. I sometimes challenge my prospect to do that. I'll say, look, here's the goal that I have for our call today. I only want to help you sell more products on Amazon, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. And by the time we're through this call, you're going to know a lot more about how to have your product climb the ranks and sell a lot more product on Amazon, and you just go out there and do it, and you'll be very happy we spoke. The other possibility is that you're going to realize that there's a lot to be done, and that if you have somebody that's done it before or that's an expert at doing this, that it may make more sense for us to work together. And if that's the case, great. Maybe we can do that too. But that's really what this call is going to be about. So why don't we get started by me talking about what I do and how to get your product ranked on Amazon and sell a lot of product. I mean, that's kind of the way I start often. Think of yourself as the Vincent van Gogh of Amazon, and your job is to paint a picture in the mind, in their mind, of their product climbing the ranks at Amazon, making their product a bestseller, and that the inventory is just flying out the door. That's what you do, and you do it for products and companies like theirs. So if you just think in your mind, this sounds a little silly, but you're painting a picture. Your whole call is to paint a picture. And what you're painting a picture in their mind is you're trying to get them to see this vision. Don't have them looking at who you are and why you're doing this and everything. Instead, paint the picture. Okay, just think about this. Okay, I often will have them pull up the web browser. It just depends on if they're really engaging. I'll have them pull up the web browser and we'll go in and we'll do some keyword searches and we'll talk about their products and the competition, and they just get to talking about it and they realize. But the thing is that in their mind, I'm getting them to see that, look, if you do this, it's going to get up on the first page and here's what happens. And then if you're up here on the first one, look, I can't tell exactly what these top listings are selling for, but my gosh, look, he's ranked number 233 in all of the toys department. You know, he's bringing down some money. We're talking about daily sales. It could be anywhere from 10 products a day to 100 products a day, 1,000 products a day. We need to find out. But I can tell you that these sellers are making money. We get clues. We look at the number of reviews that they have. We look at their bestseller ranking, and we have clues. We also have the matrix where we can look up products and see roughly what they're bringing in, and we can share some of that information with these clients. Sometimes they just don't realize how big it can be. So paint a picture. That's what you're wanting to do. Part 2. Tell them specifically and multiple times that you are all about product, people, process, and profits. Say it like that. Look, I'm all about product, people, process, and profits. Tell them specifically and multiple times that you love their products. They absolutely go bonkers over that. You love their product. You tried it. Your wife loved it. Your dog loved it. Tell them specifically and multiple times that you cherry-pick prospects that you can work with largely based on people. It's the people factor that you're going to be working with. And because the task at hand is no walk in the park, that's another expression I often use. Look, what we have to do at Amazon is no walk in the park. And we're going to have to spend a lot of time together. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to problem solve. We're going to climb Mount Everest together. And if we do this right, I have a process. Product, people, process, and profits. We will be able to get to the top of the mountain. And we're going to do this together. And if we're not able to work together, then it doesn't matter how great your products are. Tell them specifically there is a process, a very specific set of strategies that, if implemented over time, can have dramatic results. and tell them that you'll spell out the core requirements of your process in the call with them today to see if they qualify. And it's great to use that phrase, because then they start thinking, holy shit, I hope I qualify. And if there might be an opportunity to help them exclusively. And I also throw in the word exclusively here and there in my conversation, even though I'm never saying in the early part that I want an exclusive, but I want them to have heard that word come out of my mouth in different contexts in the conversation. So I love the product. I'm all about product, people, process, and profits. This is no walk in the park. We're going to work together. And you may be able to help them exclusively. And if nothing else, you're going to learn a lot. And at the end of our call, you could go out and do this yourself. Talk about profits at Amazon as best guess estimates. And do throw out possible sales numbers. You got nothing to lose. If you think it's reasonable to say a product is probably selling 50 units a day, just say it. They don't know. You really don't know. I mean, don't just pick some goofy number way out in the stratosphere, but give them what your educated guess is. And if you don't know, before you get on the call, ask around and see if you can get some feedback. You know, what do you think this number one seller is selling? And get some numbers. And tell them those numbers. Essentially, you want to be able to answer the big question that's in their mind. Will working with you be worthwhile? That's the one question they've got. Will working with you be worthwhile? And you're going to get them to come to the conclusion the answer is yes by painting the picture so they can see their product in their mind going up the ranks. They understand the mechanics of it, and they see customers buying it, and they realize that their role is just keeping inventory. It's like, hey, look, I'm going to do all my part, which is all the marketing and all that kind of stuff, and you just have to just make sure we got inventory. Just keep shipping them inventory. You know, I'm painting a picture. And they're sitting there going, holy shit, this sounds great. I'm just going to be putting products in boxes and shipping it to Amazon, and that's what I'm going to do. And then I cut him a check for 25%, and we're just going on down the road. Ask questions. Okay, because you are an Amazon expert, inquisitive and incisive, you need to ask a series of questions. I ask these questions early on, really early on in the conversation. Like as soon as I do my connecting, seeing if there's something in common or we can talk about something a little bit first, you know, small talk. Then I say, look, you know, I tell them a little story about how, you know, by the end of the call, you're going to know a lot more and you go out and do it yourself, or maybe we can work together, we'll have to see. But in order for me to be able to tell you the process and have it apply to your product, I got to ask some questions. Now, I'm going to give you the actual questions I ask in just a moment here. Okay, then you will set up clear next steps. So you've had 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever with the client. What happens next? It might be a proposal, but more often than not, a proposal is premature after the first call. Another possibility is just a summary email confirming for the prospect what you understand as their key issues, what they're facing. Another option is to send a discussion follow-up letter, which might include your understanding of their situation, your understanding of their needs. You're going to know all of this because you will have asked questions and they're going to tell you all of this. Your assessment of how you can help, and your suggestions on how to get started. Whatever you do, clearly articulate what you believe to be the most helpful next step. And then get an agreement from the prospect that this is a good next step, set a time when you're going to do the next step, and then you deliver on whatever you've promised the client. Sometimes you get to an agreement through just next steps. To tell you the truth, I'd say 80% of mine come that way. I don't really worry an awful lot about the contract and the agreement. I get them so quickly moving into the steps of things to do that before they realize it, we're married. I'm already talking to them about the title, I'm talking to them about bullet points, I'm talking to them about the images, rebundling, repackaging, you know, how much inventory they have, the competition. I mean, I just am assuming that, you know, I'm just ready to climb the mountain and ready to go, and I'm putting on my packing gear and my hiking shoes, and I'm like, you know, pulling them along. And they're just thinking, gosh, this guy is just a go-getter. You know, there's no way they're going to say no. Your follow-up. Since landing good consultant deals can take several calls, a little bit of back and forth, think of the first call as just that. It's a first call. This is important. If you're still interested, sometimes I'm not, but if you're still interested, then assume that the prospect is still interested and follow up. Sometimes it's just a matter of time. You have basically planted the seed, and then you just kind of water it regularly. I water through steps and activity. And the watering will many times yield a giant oak. It's the way I look at it. Don't send them a brochure and call them up and say, hey, did you have a chance to look at it? You don't do that.